back again. 2 days in a row. Yesterday we were talking NBA, max contract extensions, free agency. But I also told you that come back today at 2 o'clock. Those of you who are watching the stream on YouTube, twitch.tv. Oh, and now you got me on my Facebook page too. So you just gonna have a whole lot of me. But you're gonna also have a whole lot of my guests. This next young man, he was part of a dominant Cheney football team that killed that Endale streak. Y'all remember that streak that was dominant, making the news in Kansas until a Cardinal out of Cheney came along and spoiled everything? He was a part of that. He went to Kansas State to play football, so he knows about the experience playing at a high level. He's also in the transfer portal, so he knows a little bit about everything from high school to college. Process. None other than Mr. Cheney football himself, Jackson Bolt. Jackson, welcome back on the show. Glad to have you, man.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to come on.
A lot has gone on since hoisting that trophy in Cheney, man. You went to Kansas State. So I want to kind of backtrack a little bit. What was the recruiting process like? What was it that piqued your interest to go to Kansas State?
So it started. I committed to New Mexico State actually my junior year summer. So going into my senior year, so I was fully committed there. And then like December 23rd of my senior year, Coach Kill actually left New Mexico State. So I reopened my recruitment like really late for a senior. And then I got a couple D2 offers, and I was really texting K-State like, kind of just give me a chance. They looked at my film and they came in. They came visit me at school once, and then came back a week later. And it was kind of a surprise. Like I was in class, and my head coach texted me. He said, "Hey, K-State's coming down to see you today." Like I had no idea. They offered me a walk-on spot, and I was like, "This is something I can't pass up." So that's kind of how it went down.
Okay, so you went in as a walk-on. Okay, so you are very adept to culture. You played at Cheney. There was a culture there. There was a bond there. There was a brotherhood there. And the setting would just seem right. Cheney is a community that sticks behind its sports teams. I mean, it's very evident. I had a chance to check them out in the football game last year when they played at Collegiate, a game that they lost, but then they got their revenge in the playoff game. But I seen that culture up close at that game. So it just made sense from Cheney to Manhattan because Manhattan has that same vibe. It's not the big city, but it's a town that supports its athletes. It's so from going to a Cheney culture to a Kansas State culture, what was that culture like at Kansas State?
Honestly, like it was awesome. It is everything the players make it out to be. The players were so welcoming. First things, like when you get there, you're a freshman. This is the first time going against college athletes. You're pretty nervous, and they're there every step of the way. They're taking you places. They're showing you the right way to go. This guy named Isaac Cook, he would spend hours with us afterwards, after like coaches meetings and stuff, just teaching us plays and working with plays on him. And like the leadership there is unbelievable. And it's just not like your everyday guys. It's just not your captains like, Avery Johnson. Yes, he's a phenomenal leader, but that's not what makes K-State special. It's that you've 4 leaders in every room. There's not just one wide receiver leader. There's 3 guys that aren't afraid to speak up. And that's really what made the culture so special, was that you could have a bond with anyone. It wasn't all offensive players knew each other and defensive players. No, there was always intermixing. I was great friends with DBs. I'd eat lunch with DBs. I would eat lunch with D linemen. I'd eat lunch with O linemen. You're hanging out with the whole entire team. It was never just receivers or just position group. And I think that really speaks volume just to how great of a culture that K-State has, and how it really is more of a family up there. It's not just a football team. It really is. It means a lot more than just a regular football team.
All right. So you get there, you experience the culture, the preparation, the practice, because I've always been kind of curious. How hard are coaches, because you say you went in there as a walk-on, are the coaches equally hard on walk-ons as they are the everyday players, or do they kind of cut you a little bit of slack? I mean, or or is it just pretty much equal opportunities all across the board? Like you mentioned, Avery Johnson, coaches is going to get on him, but oh, okay, we got Jackson Voth. He's a walk-on. We're going to ride him just as hard. So, what is that process like?
I can only speak for K-State, but it is as equal gets. It doesn't matter your name, doesn't matter where you're from, doesn't matter how much money you have. It is you are getting coached if you do something wrong, and that's how it should be. And K-State does a great job of that.
All right, now I definitely have to ask this question because you are around the culture that is college football, but you've also seen the culture that is college basketball. And you are part of the era. Well, now you're in the transfer portal, but you have experienced and have seen how NIL has shaped the landscape of college athletes, football and basketball. How much does it have an effect on football versus what it may have on basketball? Because I mean, it was very public with what K State did last year on the basketball court, how that all played out, how emotional, distraught. I forgot that player's name. I know he came from Illinois, and now it looks like they're going down that trend again. Is there any resentment on the football side when a player inks an NIL deal of what would be magnitude proportions, as opposed to say maybe there may have been some in strife on the basketball side?
Mm-hmm. I don't think it's ever going to be as harsh as basketball, honestly, but I definitely do think there will be backlash just because I think at the end of the day, like you're always going to have people that like have something to say, so they're just going to throw that in there where like, if you're a guy who you may not be getting paid or you may be, and you have a bad game, you're always going to have someone like claiming those things. But as far as basketball, I don't think it'll get like as it was like as they were harping on him. I know who you're talking about. I forgot his name too, but just how hard they were harping on him. I don't think that's going to happen at the football level.
Okay. Because I was always curious about them. I'm like, okay, I get to have someone on zone that has been at the Power Five institution, and now they can see firsthand how this go. Because I mean, that whole thing just blew up, like,
Yeah.
and it became the talking point, and it's becoming another talking point again this year. So you mentioned Avery Johnson, and everybody around here in the state of Kansas know who Avery Johnson. Of course, around here in Kansas, we know who Jackson is as well too. We ain't gonna never forget him. Hey, alum of Cheney, knocked off Airedale. Nobody's gonna ever forget that. All right. So, what is Avery Johnson, the person, like, as opposed to Avery Johnson, football player?
So, like, as a person, man, he's one of the greatest dudes I've ever met. Outside of football, you would never guess he's a starting quarterback at a P4 university. He's such a genuine guy. He's really out to help everyone. He doesn't wear this shirt where he's like, I'm the best. No, he really is. He's a good Christian dude, and I think that plays a huge role in it. Very humble. He's just a great guy to be around. He's a guy who makes you laugh. He's fun to be around. And as a player, though, like, he's locked in. When he flips the switch when it's time to turn it on, and even in practice, he gets super competitive as he should. But overall, he's a great dude to play next to, and just a great dude to be around in the locker room.
All right. And I like the fact that you are not ashamed and not afraid to put that out there, a good Christian dude, because one of the things that caught my attention the first time I interviewed you was, you was quick to share your faith when you were playing at Cheney. And to me, I think that's a stable coming from Cheney because of some of the other players I've talked to. I think I've had the opportunity to talk to Josh Burdick, someone who you spoke very highly of, Carter Pointer. I had a chance to speak with him. It just that Cheney has the football community. I can say I appreciate the football community coming out of Cheney, the players that I've had on my podcast, and you guys, I appreciate you because y'all are not ashamed to share y'all's faith, and I see you're still carrying that same message. So just how much is your faith rooted in your everyday process on the field and in the classroom?
I try to make it like as much of a priority as possible. Obviously, sometimes I slip up and I put other things before it that I shouldn't. But at the end of the day, it is something where I was raised in a very Christian household where, you do want to put Christ first because, without him, like he could take everything away from you. Everything you're given is a blessing and never take that for granted and always thank him for those and the blessings that he's going to continue to give. And it's just cool, like when you think about it, to have a relationship with the person who created everything. And I think kind of putting in that perspective, it's like, why would I not try to talk to him as much as possible? So just as big, like I just try to make it my number one thing in my life.
See, I can throw this in there. I can get biblical now. The Bible said, "If you be ashamed to own me in the presence of men, I'll be ashamed to own you in the presence of my Father, which is in heaven." So
Mhm.
keep letting your light shine before men, that they may see your good works and give God all the glory.
Like,
Like that about you guys. Like that. Love it. Love it. Now we fast forward, because from Cheney, a culture, to Kansas State, a culture, to now the transfer portal. What is that process like? And I'm pretty sure one of the answers I might get is kind of like opening up recruitment all over again. However, I know the process still is somewhat slightly different. So, what made you decide to go into the portal, and what are you looking to get from the portal?
so starting with kind of the decision was like we decided at K State they were going to make like the roster cuts to 105, and just being in the last, they kind of gave me the option to like stick around and like maybe see or try to like hit the transfer portal. So I decided like that's probably what's best is for me to hit the transfer portal. I don't know if I could have seen myself playing in the next couple of years. I think that's something like important to me, just kind of prove myself. And then as far as the transfer portal goes, I actually committed to Drake. I'm actually in Iowa right now. Um, but the transfer portal honestly was like awful. It is one of the most stressful things just because like you don't have a lot of time. Like, in high school, you have 2 years, 3 years to go visit everywhere, or even a summer to go visit and see all these places where, I didn't have that much time. Like you hit the portal, you're reaching out to all these coaches, they're reaching out, and there's a lot of stuff with up in the air with like roster numbers. So, they can't give you a for sure, like, hey, we're going to have a spot for you, or hey, we're not going to have a spot for you. And, that kind of sucked. But just the biggest part that was like the difference from this in high school was the time. Like I was trying to see like 5 or 6 schools in the span of 2 weeks. And that's just a lot of traveling to put on me, but also like my parents. Actually, when I came up here to Drake, like my parents couldn't even go. So I went with my grandparents. My grandparents, thank them. I got the best family in the world. They drove me 6 hours while I slept in the backseat of the car. But
Des Moines, Iowa. That's a
yeah,
long drive.
Des Moines, Iowa. Yeah, it's about 6 hours from Cheney, and so they drove me, and like my son and I committed, and my mom still had not seen where I was going to be for the next however long I'm here. So her first time was last week coming up, and I had already committed. So that was probably the hardest thing to adjust to. Was just I had to make my decision really, really fast.
Wow. So the transfer portal isn't all it's cracked up to be then, huh? It's to be
No.
very stressful.
Yes.
So what was it that attracted you to the Drake Bulldog? See, I'm 57, so I know a little thing about Drake. I remember they're probably still part of the Missouri Valley Conference, aren't they? They're a different conference now.
I think so. Yeah.
All right, let me ask this question. Is South Dakota on the schedule?
Yes. Yeah, they are. South Dakota and South Dakota State.
Then that means they're probably some kind of affiliation with the Missouri Valley Conference, which means you'll be playing against another Wichita product in LJ Phillips. I just had him on not too long ago too, so I'm getting all, like I said, getting all these great guests. So I mean, but something it had to stand out about
Yeah.
Drake, besides the fact that their colors is blue and silver, either Dallas Cowboy color or Detroit Lion color. What was it that attracted you to Drake?
Just it was for sure the coaching staff. Like when I came on my visit with my grandparents, I was just so impressed with the knowledge of our offensive coordinator, Coach Kemp, and the receivers coach, Coach Adams. they kind of just blew me away. And obviously, like when you're in the recruiting process, you learn that the coaches, they kind of feed you what you want to hear. Like they're going to tell you everything. Like, oh, you're going to come in. Like they didn't tell me that. They told me exactly how it was going to be, and that's what I wanted. I wanted that type of honesty. Because you can give that honesty, then I know they're going to be honest when they coach me, and they're going to help me reach my full potential.
Okay. So, what is the outlook for Drake football? I know this is going to be your first go around with them. You've never stepped foot on the field with them. I'm pretty sure you've had a chance to meet some of the players. Uh, what is the outlook? What can we expect to see from Drake this coming up football season?
So they've actually won back-to-back conference championships, and I'm pretty sure it's the Pioneer League. I could be wrong, but that's what I'm pretty sure of the league it is. And they've won back-to-back. What's up next for us is we want to win our first playoff game. That'll be big. That's obviously on the agenda. But first you just get that first win, and keep on stacking games after that, and hopefully win a conference championship, and then hopefully get in the playoffs and win that first playoff game and keep on moving.
All right. And I am definitely going to keep an eye on one Jackson Bolt. I'm going to be stat watching. I'm going to see how much of an impact do you see yourself making on this year's team?
That's something I can't answer just because I don't. I'm not sure yet. Obviously, I want to play. Obviously, I want to play receiver, but if I'm playing special teams or returning kickoffs or block, whatever I'm doing, I'm just trying to impact the game in whatever way I can.
And you were correct in your assessment. They are in the Pioneer Football League, so like I say, I'm going to be looking forward to watching this Drake team. I'm going to be keeping an eye on Jackson Bolt. Is there anybody from the Cheney family you want to give a shout out to? Because once I post this, everybody in the town of Cheney, current players, past players, they're going to be watching this. So, who you want to give a shout out to right now?
Shout out my mama.
Mama.
Yeah, she's obviously my dad too, but they're the best parents I've ever had. They installed Christ in my life very early on, but also, they just showed me what hard work and dedication was. They taught me everything I needed to know. They were honest with me when they needed to be honest. They supported me throughout. Never doubted me, and that's something that I'll never take for granted because the journey I've had has been stressful, but they've been with me the whole entire way. They really have done so much for me, and without them, I wouldn't even be close to the person I am today. So shout out, mama, and shout out my dad.
We're gonna give this to them right here. Any coaches, any players you want to give a shout out to?
Let me think, coaches.
You know all the players that you play with.
Coach Frieden, basketball coach at Cheney High School. Shout out him. I'll shout out him, and then obviously the head coach Shelby Weirman. Got to shout out him. Dusty Hayde, Bill Block. Is there anyone players? Obviously my best friend Casey Messenger. Shout him out.
Casey, AM.
I'm telling you, Josh is going to be the best. Josh is the best quarterback ever. I'll forever say that till I die.
That's amazing because he just recently committed, if I'm correct. So when I seen you in the portal, I didn't know which direction you were going to go.
Oh yeah.
I had a vision. I'm like, ooh, imagine if Josh Jackson, J&J, link back up.
I know.
But then who knows? I mean, something may happen down the road, and Josh may get into the portal and end up at Drake. Don't you comment on that. We don't want you to get in trouble for tampering. Let me say all that, all right? But hey, it's a crazy world, and you never know what could happen in the future. And just the vision, Josh and Jackson teaming up, linking up again somewhere down the road, and having that connection, and hoisting up a championship trophy somewhere. But yeah, I just want you to give a shout out because I knew some of the people from Cheney will be watching this. And like I said, you are an outstanding young man. The question I did ask you the first time you was on when we were doing it the traditional way, I'd always ask all the athletes this question, grade point average and the importance of education. How were your grades looking when you was at Kansas State?
So I have really good tutors and really good friends that helped me study. So I was able to achieve a 4.0 at Kansas State, but I was not going to take full credit for that because I obviously had great friends that helped me study in the classes, and I had great teachers that were very flexible with me and put in extra work with me and understood my busy schedule. So shout out to K State and all the people there because they helped me achieve that.
Definitely got to applaud that because a lot of people they put a stigma on athletes. They say these athletes they're not going to class. They're just. But the fact that you maintained that 4.0 and like you gave credit to where credit was. See, if I ran back my college days, now I was in the band. Uh, you know, I know for sure there was probably one person, and I wish I could think of that person's name, but I believe that person would have helped me in my college endeavor. Other than that, I just took up 2 years of going to junior college. That's why I can appreciate someone that's going to college, having to grind on the football field, still having to grind in the classroom, having the tutors, and at the same time giving credit where credit is due. So uh, that in itself proves that athletes do go to class. Athletes can maintain a 4.0 grade point average, and it's all about having the right support system around you. So that being said, is there anything you would like to pass along? Any words of wisdom? Because I know you've been around some very knowledgeable people before we let you go. Is there any words of wisdom you like to pass on to anybody that's maybe watching this and be like, I might want to be like him? What would you tell any young person that's striving to go to college at the next level, whether it be in sports or whether it be in life? What would you tell them?
I would say one thing I try to live by is love like Jesus. Number one, put a smile on your face and love your mama.
Love
That's
your mama. That's why you are a blessed man. Well, once again, I want to thank you for being on the show again. It's been a
thank you,
few years, but the fact that I could call you up, text you up last minute, and you right there, I want to say I appreciate you and I thank you.
thank you. Thanks for letting me come on. This is fun. Really enjoyed it.
Hey, it's always a blast, man. Like I say, I love the community of Cheney. I'm gonna actually get to Cheney to watch a game as opposed to waiting for Cheney to come here. I want to experience that
Yeah.
Cheney vibe on a football Friday. Before I let you go, what is that vibe like on a Friday in Cheney?
It is. It's awesome, especially because like my last experience with it was the Andale game, the second time we played them. So we had like 6,000 people there, but just the how many people get there early, they stay the whole time. Coming out, like the biggest thing that you would notice is after the game. When we all walk and see our families, like everyone's telling everyone good job. It's not just you're talking to your family, you're talking to everyone's parents. People that don't even have kids that are playing now are still there supporting you, and you're getting text messages after the game, you're getting cards in the mail. It is just a full, like, everyone's in on the football, everyone's in on every sport, just constantly supporting and showing love, and you'll feel it when you go out there. It's a really special place for sure.
All right. Well, for you being a guest on the show, and I know I'm doing a lot right now. Now, this is my hoodie. You can't have my hoodie, but I would definitely get you a T-shirt. All right.
Sweet.
That way you can support the A train. Let me know. Hey, I took the ride and I was on the train, so I need to know what size shirt you wear. What size
Medium.
T-shirt you wear?
Medium.
Medium.
Yes,
As
sir.
soon as I get that, I will let you know. You'll let me know where to send it to or where we can meet up. Are you back in town right now, or where you at now?
I'm in Des
You
Moines.
you
I'm
in
in
Des
Iowa.
Moines? All
Yeah.
right. Text me your address. As soon as I get this shirt made, you will have one in the mail. But you know what I want in return? We're gonna do shirt swap. I want something to say Drake Bulldogs on it.
Deal.
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 Bet.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, guest on the train ride on the A Train Sports Talk podcast, the best podcast in the state of Kansas. Not because of me, but because of my guest. That's what makes it number one. Jacksonville, we say thank you once again.
Thank you.
And that's going to be it for today on the A Train Sports Talk podcast. I may come back again tomorrow. I may come back again 2 days after. But for now, this is it on the A Train Sports Talk Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, stay blessed, and always be ready to take the ride on the A train. I'm out.